This was just pathetic.
The train is off the rails, and so is the plot.
Pardon me while I yawn.
Seagal's emotional range is still stuck in the cargo hold.
This movie treats the audience like idiots.
The plot twist was as predictable as a train schedule.
Overall, a child's film.
Less Under Siege 2 and more underwhelming 2.
Watchable, but not much more.
Seagal fights terrorists on a train, yet somehow the most unbelievable part is his hair still perfectly in place.
Welcome to this week's episode of Slept on Cinema. I'm your host, Stan Steamer.
I'm Grove Street.
This week we're getting into the 1995 Steven Seagal classic, Under Siege 2, Dark Territory. We talked about this last week, that Steven Seagal films really are their own genre. So while this is an action thriller, saying it's just a Steven Seagal film is really the most accurate description you could possibly get.
If he had a few more movies that didn't go straight to video, well, actually, these would be fine because they're at video. He could have his own shelf because there is no section like a Steven Seagal section.
Yes. He should have his own shelf. There's a handful of people that probably should have their own shelf, but certainly Steven Seagal.
Absolutely.
This movie, like all movies, believe it or not, that we do on our podcast, are at or below 50% on Rotten Tomatoes for both critics and audiences. And the podcast is structured so that the first half of the podcast is spoiler-free. We talk about some things to look for in the film, take a break, go watch the movie, come back, and talk about what we just went through.
Rotten premise. Former U.S. Navy SEAL Casey Ryback has left the armed forces to lead a quiet life as a chef in Denver. While taking time off from his new job, Ryback decides to go on a scenic train trip with his niece Sarah. When an arrival of evil genius Travis Dane and an international team of hijackers interrupt their relaxing journey through majestic Rocky Mountains, Ryback must get involved and save the day. Critics, 34%. Audience, 38%.
I don't get it, and I don't get it because Under Siege, the original Under Siege, does not qualify. It rates exceptionally well on all the aggregators, Rotten Tomatoes, whatever. This movie, to me, is just as good as the first one.
I'm going to go one up.
You think it's better?
Yep, I am. We'll get into it later, but maybe I have to watch the first one again. I mean, I just saw this one 4 times in a week, and I'm excited to see it again. So the train is rolling on for me on this one, but I think it could be better.
It's probably one of these scenarios where it's whichever one you've seen more recently, you're like, no, that one was better. And then you'll watch the other one and you're like, nope, that one was better.
That's exactly it. But right now, I just saw Under Siege 2, so that one's better.
Yep, so that one's better. Yeah. I did watch Under Siege 1, rolling it right into Under Siege 2. So it was almost like it was one awesome movie.
Oh, yeah, this made me need to watch Under Siege 1.
You do. I mean, it's just as fantastic as Under Siege 2. What more can you say? A little bit of background. Movie came out July 14th, 1995. I'm going to say it opened 1B that weekend. It came in second to the third week of Apollo 13. So we've come across this exact same situation with Apollo 13 in the past. There's literally nothing you could do. Great film, all-time classic. Tom Hanks in his prime. No one's going to take that down. So the fact that this comes in number 2, it's really coming in 1B. Yep,
absolutely. Number 1 movie.
And took in $12.6 million its opening weekend. A hefty chunk of change there.
Yeah.
Also, at the time, there were a number of other slept-on movies out. This kind of blew my mind. You could have had a 5 package of movies in the same theater. You could have seen this film. You could have seen Batman Forever, Judge Dredd, Johnny Mnemonic, and Species. Those were all out this summer.
Oh, I thought you were going to say eligible, but these are literally movies we've done.
Yes, these are movies we've done that were in theaters that exact same time.
No wonder why we keep running up against Apollo 13.
Right.
5 movies we put up against it.
So we spoke a little bit when we did our last Steven Seagal film about Steven Seagal, as makes sense. I'm going to dive a little bit into just Eric Bogosian.
Nice.
We've had this a couple times before where we've encountered somebody who's really one of these Renaissance men, and he is one of them. He's obviously a famous actor. You recognize him from Law and Order. He was on there for a number of years, and also just some of the greatest TV shows, like the most prestigious TV shows. I feel like of recent years with Billions and Succession. But what I didn't know before looking into this, he's also a pretty significant playwright. He's had 6 plays produced. He's written movies that have been directed by a number of directors, including Oliver Stone and Richard Linklater, 2 of the greatest directors we have. He's written 3 novels. He founded a dance series. It's one of these things. It's like this man just has skills coming out his ass. I think whatever he touches, it's just amazing. And he's absolutely fantastic in this film. And you can tell he's one of those guys that's just a completely well-rounded, brilliant man.
Yeah, amazing piece of for whatever you can say about Seagal movies. I mean, he casts some great people in his movies.
Oh, yeah.
This is no difference. This is some great cast in him for sure. Do you know, are you going to go into where he's from?
His early years were in Watertown, Massachusetts, right down the road from where I am right now. He's Armenian American. They have a big Armenian population over there. Some really great restaurants.
Armenian food in Watertown.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So then I forget, he moved somewhere further west when he was a kid. I don't recall exactly where, but good to see someone from Watertown making it big.
Yeah, absolutely.
I also found that he sounds exceptionally like Anthony Bourdain. Like if you close your eyes, I could not tell the difference. It blew my mind a little bit.
I saw a picture online when I Googled him to learn more, and I was like, isn't that Anthony Bourdain? And it was not. It was him just a little bit older. You're right. They're very similar and have some similar mannerisms too.
Yeah. Should we get to the bolos?
Let's do it. Bolo, slow-mo, and fast-mo.
Took that right off my list. The slow-mo, if you're not paying attention, you might miss it, which is a good bolo because it's some really great slow-mo.
It's done
but
very
it's
well.
used sparingly.
But effectively. And the fast-mo comes into play too.
Yep. They were just they were using all the tricks here. It's great.
Tons of tricks.
So I have a couple, maybe I'll just fire these off 3 in a row. Because I got some great bolo TV actors. Some just all-time TV actors here. Right off the bat, you'll see Kurtwood Smith, the dad from that 70s show. Great to see him in something else. He's fantastic.
Oh, I'm going to bring up later on in this podcast something else he's in, so it'll come back.
Excellent. Jonathan Banks from Breaking Bad.
Yep.
And then another one, a little bit more obscure, and my wife has seen every episode of Seinfeld 9,000 times, so we almost might need to have a segment of characters from Seinfeld in these shows, but Ping, the Chinese food delivery man from Seinfeld that Elaine hits with her car, is in this film. So Bolo, that man.
Wow. I have to watch this. I did not see Ping.
Yeah, he's there.
Sister never loses a case. I think that's why initially I've also seen 9,000 episodes of Seinfeld. I think that's why your wife didn't hate me initially when she met me, because we both got along with Seinfeld jokes.
There had to be some reason.
Yeah, I think that's all I can come up with. And also, what was his name? The name of the actor from Breaking Bad?
Jonathan Banks.
Jonathan Banks. Wears the same costume as my son when he plays with trains. In this.
I love that they showed up with a proper attire.
Me too. Bolo, a situation room of people staring at boobs.
One of the more absurd scenes I've ever seen.
Yep. Enhance.
Enhance, yes. I don't know what the appropriate terminology for this article of clothing is anymore. I'm sure it is no longer called a wife beater. But the white ribbed tank top, formerly known as a wife beater, Bolo.
Isn't it like an A shirt now? Some awful name that
I don't know what it is. I feel like they kind of fell out of fashion, so no one talks about them anymore.
Yeah.
But when they come back, I'm sure they'll have a different name.
People hide them now under their clothes where they were originally meant to be. Bolo, waiting for good things to come.
Ooh, I like that. Bolo, a glass eye. Just an awesome glass eye.
So good. Bolo, sexual harassment. It's the 90s, so it seems to happen in every movie.
So casual, too.
So casual.
Bolo train puns. Great train puns.
Yep. Do you have a lot of bolos? Because I do. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I could go on and on.
Okay, let's have some fun then. Bolo car antennas.
Yes.
So many. And some cars with multiple. Front, back, middle.
Yeah, what could they do?
It's just AM FM still, right?
I'll follow that with it. Bolo a boombox. Kind of in the same vein.
Yep. I'm also going to add to that a boombox that everyone in the 90s owned.
Yes, 100%. I'm pretty sure my parents still have that boombox.
I know mine do, and it's in the basement. I don't.
I'm going to double up again here with 2 callbacks to the first Under Siege movie for those paying attention. Bolo, a microwave, and Bolo, a meat locker.
Wow.
Very crucial plot elements from the first film. Just clearly make this little homage to them here.
Completely over my head. I didn't get those. I was curious about some of those references or why they were there, so that makes sense that it was about the first one. Bolo grabbing the porter. Bit much.
Viciously at times. This is kind of a detailed one, so really keep your eyes peeled. But Bolo fillings.
Bolo not being able to find the body.
It must be there.
It's got to be there.
Bolo leather jacket.
So good. Bolo auto redial.
A little redundant, but
Yep.
Bolo some recipes.
They do sound good.
They do. I did pause to review.
Luckily, those recipes didn't involve a microwave, which some other ones might have. Later.
No, the main one was a fruit salad, really delicious sounding fruit salad.
Bolo, the OG Zoom background. Before Zoom existed, this is, I think, currently a Zoom background.
Yes. Bolo, also vintage technology, a Newton. It was a short-lived piece of personal technology.
Very. Bolo, this rarely happens. I'm surprised it made it into the movie, but Bolo mocking how Seagal talks.
Oh, yeah. And really well done, too.
So well done.
Bolo, an abrupt change of heart.
I think you might like this one. Bolo smoking cigarettes fast.
Yep. I know exactly what you're talking about there. This is a throwback to our last Steven Seagal film, but Bolo, champagne, and sex. It's just a classic Seagal combo, even if he's not involved.
If we're doing classic Seagal, then Bolo, broken bones.
Yep. Got to have those. Bolo, pepper spray. Some very crucial pepper spray. Or mace. We'll see.
Helps with the sinuses. Bolo, the title line, written.
Written. Yeah, I'll have to keep an eye out for that one.
It's not. It doesn't say under siege somewhere. But.
Mm-hmm. Bolo, a needle.
Bolo, rock climbing dress shoes.
Bolo, Caribbean rum.
Oh, good one. Yep. Bolo, not being shot.
It's like, well, he was, and then maybe he wasn't.
There's no bullet here.
Bolo, fringe. Another, I guess, sartorial choice that has fallen out of favor.
Bolo, a bomb. Shaken, not stirred.
This is my last one, but just Bolo, a fax. We got a lot of technology. Great technology film.
Great technology. Let's see. Bolo. Let's see what I got here. Bolo fingertips. Bolo assumption. And Bolo a broken bra.
Nice. Yeah, this was just a great, occasionally we run into these films that just have so many things, so many great details. And this was one of them. And I think you probably never expect to have a Steven Seagal film with this level of just exciting details. But here we are.
There's a reason why it has so much, because this movie is awesome. We'll get through this fast so you can get to it as fast as you can. Let's get to drink to pair with the movie. I'm going to have you go first if you don't mind, because I have 2 choices. I don't know if it's going to overlap, so let's see.
We'll see. Mine's a little bit of it picks up a handful of elements.
Okay,
awesome. Let's just say that. I'm going with the flaming rum punch.
I just want to pause for a second. I don't want to cut you off here, even though I am sorry. I almost picked a fictional drink, the Flaming Mo. So I'm very excited to hear your actual drink.
Yeah, well, this is, I mean, it's actual because I'm saying it's actual. Um, it is 2 ounces of Caribbean rum, and then just add in some lime juice, simple syrup, and a pinch of pepper.
Ooh.
Yeah, and then light it on fire, slurp it down.
Have you
Carefully.
ever had a drink that had been lit on fire?
I have. I
Yeah.
feel like it's only a drink that you have. It's never your first drink. Let's just say that.
It's never just your kids go to bed and you just want to have something while you watch the news. It's not that.
No. This is you've been at the bar for several hours, and then that's the time.
Great idea. Even though I've always been, well, not always, I've been at the bar a few times, and that has happened. I'm very risk averse, and I have never had flaming. I'm like, I mean, maybe it goes out and it's sitting there or whatever, but I'm not blowing it out and taking the shot. I've seen too many YouTube clips of that going wrong.
Oh yeah, it can go wrong for sure.
But I'm sure it's right. It's fun. I'm glad you went first because you did the rum there. I was going to say the was it Puerto Rican rum or Caribbean rum?
I think they just said Caribbean rum. So
Okay.
it could have been Puerto Rican rum.
Yeah. Okay. Caribbean rum, just sad sips out of a shot glass. You could do that, or just rock them back. But that could be too much because it's very strong. I had no idea that actually is a strong drink. I had to Google that.
Yeah.
But I did find a website called realdrinkinggames.com, which is REEL.
Oh, I see what they did. Yeah, I like that.
All based on movies. I didn't go to that site. I just was goofing around and looking around, and there's a drinking game for Under Siege 2 Dark Territory that I will put on Instagram when this comes out so people can play. Be careful. I'll just give a couple little examples here, but this is just a few. Play with a light domestic beer, I would say, like maybe a Bud Light or something easy.
Give yourself a long runway here.
Yeah, do not do this with the Caribbean rum. But drink every time a map is shown. Drink every time someone is thrown off a plane. Drink every time there's bad CGI. Drink every time the camera.
I'm not sure that one's going to come up.
I agree. Drink every time there's CGI that's awesome.
Yes.
And drink every time the camera cuts to a panicked Katherine Heigl. There's some more. And then there's a finish your drink when chance favors the prepared mind.
Yes.
Yeah, but there's a few more. I just think it's like a movie like this, if you're watching it in company, you're probably having a few drinks and you've got some people around that enjoy watching these type of movies. A drinking game would go along very well with this movie, I think.
I completely agree. Yeah, that's a great idea.
So that's all I got. Enjoy. Can't wait for you guys to watch this, and I cannot wait to break this down on the other side.
Yeah, enjoy.
A top-secret satellite with nuclear capabilities, a team of international terrorists, a government-held hostage,
President and the others been safely evacuated.
an undetectable moving headquarters.
I'd like to call your attention to the highly trained men with the automatic weapons they may be called upon to shoot you.
There's only one problem.
Any other heroes?
The cook from Under Siege is back.
I'm not even a good cook, but there are some things I'm good at.
And things are really heating up.
It's a 45, okay?
Yeah. Last time, he rocked the boat. This time, the sky's the limit. Steven Seagal, Under Siege 2.
This, I'm trained for.
Slept On Cinema is brought to you by Training Ties, the ultimate shoe tying tool. If you know anyone who's struggling with shoe tying, Training Ties is the perfect solution. Or if you know anyone who just doesn't like tying their shoes, Training Ties keeps shoes tied.
Welcome
all day
back.
long. Say no to Velcro. Welcome back. What a ride.
Yeah, what a ride, literally. We talked about how this movie is at least as good, if not better, than the first one. And that's so true. It is. Like, it's another one of these films that when we get to one change to make it a blockbuster, it's really tough because it kind of just it moves right along. It keeps things going. It has everything you want. It's a great film.
Of all the categories that we have, that's the hardest one this time is what changed to be a blockbuster. And it's just like, I was just this is the most notes I've taken, and they're all goofy because this movie's so much fun. It's just such an enjoyable movie the entire time. I love it.
Great pacing, great action. Everything's great.
I only picked this because I didn't pick it, but like I thought about picking this. It was obviously Seagal, and I just loved the ending when I was a kid. It was just the funniest thing in the world to me and my dad at the time. But I forgot how good the rest of the movie was, and it's so good. It's so Seagal. It's so 90s.
Seagal.
It's so things that like people call it formulaic and all the other things. It's Die Hard over here, Die Hard on a train again, or not on a boat, and it's just like I don't care. This movie's awesome. Forget about all your prejudices and other things that have happened before, and just go into this movie and enjoy the movie. And it's so much fun. You can watch it ironically. The perfect movie for that. It's not a bad movie, but it does some things kind of funny. And if you flip that on its head and look at that not as a negative, but like it's just kind of like outside the box, this movie is just so good.
It's amazing. It's just a great film. I had so much fun watching it.
All right, we got to get right into it. Let's get into the draft. What do you got for your number one pick?
Yeah, we were talking about this before, and as people can probably imagine from how I've been talking about it, I have so many picks that I could go here, and I feel like I do think I have a number one overall, but after that, I feel like everything could be a second round pick, a sleeper, it could be anything. But my number one overall pick, and maybe this is cheating, but I'm taking all the villains. I thought the villains in this movie were all perfectly cast. The main villain, Eric Bogosian, so good. His lines were so good. He played the part perfectly. He was an interesting character as well. The ideas were interesting. The other villains were all fantastic, like that glass eye, like having that little detail of the glass eye, the leather jacket. The villain, who is also the main villain in the mask, has maybe the best villain face I've ever seen in any movie. Like I think in the history of actors, he has the best villain face.
He was almost my bolo for the guy from Mask, and he's like Redfoot or Littlefoot, whatever it is from Usual Suspects, right?
Yes.
And that's like always a villain.
Yeah. He's just there's some, I don't know what it is about his face, but like it's a villain face. He could never play the good guy. It just wouldn't work because of that face. But every little detail they just absolutely nailed with the villains. I thought they were just such great spoils throughout the entire film. And
their attitudes, and they're so brazen. They just like, this guy is so good at close contact. They don't care. They're going to come around corners slowly, not pay attention, and just let him do what he needs to do. And there's so many goons too, and they're all jerks.
Yeah, they're all jerks. They'll like check the baggage area. He's like riddles the thing with bullets. Baggage is checked. It's just like so many of those things were just like total disregard for life, for anybody else. And they're just fantastic villains.
All right, my first pick, just like you, all of my picks are third round picks. There's no, like, I'm not picking Seagal. We've done that before. I can't pick the Die Hard theme. We've been down that road. So it's all just like cool things from this movie. And the best part about this movie to me, I had to pause it every time. I'm like, really? It starts here? Is the action. Like, there's no long setup. I've watched a couple movies lately, and like it's a good movie, but it takes like 40 minutes to develop. This is like 9 minutes in, they're taking over the other helicopters and like killing the military and taking over the plane, and it starts. It's just it's just in from almost there's a 5 minutes of basic setup, and then it's just like, that's why we have so many pages of notes, because the action just starts. People are dying, necks are being snapped, limbs are being broken, and it's just awesome from the start.
Oh yeah, and that opening scene, I feel like I caught on some later rewatches, the foreshadowing of your favorite scene at the end where he shoots the computer. The guy just lays into the radio in the tower. It's like, oh well, there it is. That's the end right there.
That's it. That's the end. Yeah, it's so fun. Like when you watch like these Van Damme, Seagal, Schwarzenegger, Stallone action movies, you don't need a huge plot development. It's like, I get it. The plot developed before when I know who Seagal is. I know who he is.
Right.
I get it. He's out to save people. Fine. Don't do the setup. His career was a setup. Get into the movie, and they do it.
Yeah, and we have the benefit here of the first whole film, so we have that. We already are coming into it with this character. We don't need to get into it, which is they did that perfectly. Sometimes they rehash it too much. We don't need that. We've all seen Under Siege.
You're right. They assume that everyone has seen him. There's no explanation about Casey Ryback. It's just assumed, like everyone else in the movie, that you know who Casey Ryback is.
Right. Everyone somehow knows who this man is.
That might be a pick later. My second pick. My second pick, I said I wasn't going to pick someone, but I am. I thought Katherine Heigl just did an amazing job. I gave her second round villain because it wasn't the movie, but it's so easy for a movie like this to have like bad tertiary actors. Like they're just off to the side and they're a bit part and they're not that good. We saw it in, it happens in other Seagal movies where some of the side characters aren't like the best actors. And Heigl just crushes it. You can see how she becomes like the star she became because as just playing that like attitude 16-year-old or whatever. She didn't go over the top with the attitude. She just did it perfectly. And I just thought she did such a great job in that weird role where it's almost impossible to do a good job, like as a good actress in that role. And she did.
Yeah, and she was actually 16 when they were filming this. I feel like a lot of times these parts, they'll put it like 24-year-old in and just make them look younger. But she's actually 16 playing a 16-year-old, which is, it sounds like that would make it easy, but I think it's actually a really hard thing to do. And you're right, she nailed it.
Yeah, it's very easy for that to be a poorly acted position. And the movie just in general had great actors everywhere. And so did Under Siege 1. And that's what I think gets lost in these Seagal movies. It's not, there's some other movies that are like some of these that went straight to video, but some of these Under Sieges, this is an ensemble cast almost. Like these are great actors in an action movie where you don't really expect them. Like you just said, Bogosian was in like Law and Order and he's a writer and just so elevated and smart and he's playing the villain in this movie. What? Amazing.
Yeah. We're just so lucky to get that kind of cast in a movie like this.
Yep, absolutely.
My second pick, so many choices here. I'm going to take the first time we see the satellite in action as a weapon. That scene, everything about it was done perfectly. I loved watching the satellite sort of unfold itself with its like spider legs coming out, and you still don't really know exactly what it's going to do at this point. You see this thing unfolding in space, which is awesome. And then everyone in the ATAC place is freaking out, and then the camera work when they're showing the villains and they're all sort of, it's like shooting up and you see all the faces and everyone's going nuts and they're all yelling, and the dialogue around it, the whole scene, it's just this like frenetic, chaotic energy throughout the whole thing. And then you see what this thing does, and it's better than you expect. I mean, it's like wow, this thing is unbelievable. So that whole scene, I thought they just absolutely nailed. In just like I watched it over and over again because it was just, I don't know, 30 seconds or something like that. That was just extreme excitement.
This is the part of swear here coming. This is the shitstorm, right? Like the fertilizer place.
Yes, exactly.
And you know where the footage of the buildings falling down came from?
No, where were they?
It came from footage that wasn't used on Deadly Ground, another Seagal movie. So it was footage that wasn't used from that. So when they like, destroy this plant, they just put that in there. Like, all right, this is what it would look like, right? And it was perfect.
Yeah.
And that like radar blow up scene.
Oh, so cool.
So cool.
Yeah, so cool.
That's a great pick.
My third round pick, I think, and this is like you could almost put this in an anti-pick. I'm going with the eye needle torture move. After having seen this, I don't understand why there's any other kind of torture. It seems like this should just be it. It's so simple. You just get a hot needle, put it near someone's eye. Like they will tell you everything. That should be it. That should just be torture. Should just be synonymous with this hot needle in your eye.
It's going in your eye. It's going to do all. They should just play him saying what's going to happen to your eye, and that's the best part too. Is him being like, "This is what's going to happen." Mm-hmm. Not just going to poke you and be like, "Ow, your eye's going to blow up." It's going to be really awful. And then after that, you know what? You have another eye, so we can keep going.
Right.
So-
They could have done it some gruesome way. They could have grabbed some random passenger and just done it. But the description and talking through was so much more fitting with who the villain was.
Yep.
And it just worked better. It was a great choice. And then obviously they both gave up the password, but they had no choice at that point. I mean, it's the perfect torture.
And with the tear from her,
yeah.
like it's just so good. The whole scene is just perfect. And it's good because even after like the third or fourth watch it, my fingernails are still going like into the chair a little bit when that needle's
unavoidable.
getting closer.
Yeah, It was one of those scenes that is hard to watch, but in a fantastic way.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's like the first time you saw Saw or something.
Yeah, right.
Nice. All right, my third pick. This is just kind of like a thing in movies, and I thought this did it really well. I love an out-of-touch adult who kind of sometimes it's like sometimes it's the dad who's estranged or not around enough. It's usually a guy who is out of touch and gives the kids something from when they were in touch. Like, remember years ago, you liked this? You like to collect snow globes? And they're like 22. Like, dude, I don't like snow globes. And this one was like, you like to collect bears, right? Yeah. She's like, I'm 16. I did when I was 11. But It's such a good move in movies to be like, I've lost touch with who you are, see, but I still care about you. Let's reconnect. And it's just like...
Yeah, it's such a nice shortcut. You're like, you understand the relationship instantly.
And people hate shortcuts for some people hate shortcuts in these movies and they think it's just too easy. And I love them. I'm not here for that.
Right.
Get that established a little bit and let's break some fingers. Let's break some necks. Let's get on the train and let's go.
Yeah, let's do what we came here to do.
Yeah, exactly. This isn't some sort of emotional movie. We are clearly by Seagal's act. This isn't emotional. This is a action movie. Let's get to it.
Yeah, that's a great pick.
And my sleeper pick, we already touched on it, but this is so cool to me. And this is such a Seagal thing because he has like no sense of humor about himself. Everyone should know he's great. In every interview he's ever done, he just talks about how great he is and everyone should know how great he is. And he's different from the other actors. And I love how everyone, when they say Casey Ryback, just goes, Casey Ryback? Casey, like the guy in the Pentagon, Admiral or whatever, was just like Casey Ryback. The whole Situation Room knows Casey Ryback. Yeah. The whole train knows Casey Ryback. One of the villains was trained by Casey Ryback. The other one knows him as even being better than him. It's just like the name. It's like Kaiser Soze to villains in this. It's just Casey Ryback. Oh God, what are we gonna do? He's here as if and this is like pre-internet. This is all just like word of mouth stuff where he's like probably Braveheart, where he's like 12 feet tall in these people's minds because he's so great. And it just happens to be on this train. Casey Ryback is on this train.
Right. Yeah. I love how they did that. It made you aware of the like mythology that surrounds this man. And you can tell that's like how Seagal is in this film. It's a great character move. This is kind of related to that. Another just element that I love. It's not going to be my pick, but early in the film, right after the hijackers get on the train and one of them kills somebody in the kitchen and just says, "Any other heroes?" And Seagal pops right up and it's like, bam, here I am, a hero. And it's just like so on point. It was brilliant. It was that sort of same mythology building thing.
It's not other heroes. The hero is
right.
Here.
Exactly.
Yeah. So good.
My sleeper pick, and this has a really small role here, which I guess makes sense for being a sleeper. I'm just going to take flares. There's a great use of the flares here when just torching bad guys with it and the rum. But I haven't had a chance, for better or worse, I guess, to use many flares. I guess you typically only use them when something's gone wrong. But they just seem so cool. There's the handheld ones. There's flare guns. Emit all this light in some way that I don't understand. It's like, I think they're hot, but they
you
just
can hold
seem
them forever.
Yeah, they just seem so cool and mysterious and exciting. They almost seem magical. I think they just are magical.
Does it come to when I think of flares and for whatever reason I go to Jurassic Park?
Right.
And it was
classic
kind of
flare scene.
Yep, a big time flare scene.
Yep. Yeah.
And the flare the T-Rex is there, but the flare makes the scene.
It does. It's the flare scene, really. And then there is a T-Rex.
The flare.
So anytime there's flares in a movie, I'm on board. I think I might need to just get some flares and go somewhere where someone's not going to think that I'm in distress and just have fun with them.
It's tough to shoot off flares without getting attention.
Yes.
That's unfortunately the point.
Yes.
Of the flare. Well, it's cold there. You can stay inside and shoot off flares. I have an anti-pick.
Oh, let's hear it.
And this is for you, mainly. You're incredibly good at spotting good and bad smokers in movies.
Oh, yes. This one. This man. Go ahead.
But this isn't a smoking question or pick. I'm not great. I'm not good with smoking stuff, but I do want to hear what you say about Tom. I'm on the other side here. When Seagal sits at the train bar and orders a drink, he has no idea. Nobody goes to the bar and be like, I'm not drinking. Actually, give me the strongest thing you got. What is that? All right, that sounds good. Like, no clue how to drink. No clue. He had that pour, and he's like, save the brandy. I'm making a cake. Like, how much brandy do you think you're going to have? No one has much brandy. There's not much brandy in anything, in your mouth or in a recipe. Like, you don't have 30 ounces of brandy.
Yeah, that's a great point. You just figure he just picked up drinking. He's had a day. He's just picked it up. That's what happened.
I think partly it's he felt like we're both parents, and I don't feel this way ever actually, but the shtick is like, oh, you have a kid, maybe you need a drink. So he had a kid for like a second on the train. He had an angry teenager for like 5 seconds. He's like, oh, I need a drink.
I need the strongest thing you have.
Strongest thing you got. Do you even know what the light is? No, I don't know how to drink. Is it a Coors Light? Yeah, here you go. It's a Coors Light. That's the strongest thing. Whoa, that's pretty strong. He has no idea how to order a drink at a bar.
Yep. Yeah, and the smoking in this. My guess, I mean, this was a man who just picked up smoking that morning, which is what had to have happened. My guess, and I could see why someone would do this, is he probably just realized that it was okay to smoke at work, and he was like, well, I got to do this. So he bought a pack of cigarettes and started smoking at work. Like, if I could smoke in my office, like I don't smoke cigarettes, but if it was okay for me to smoke cigarettes in my office at work, I'd probably start smoking cigarettes tomorrow, because like, why wouldn't you do that? So my guess is that's what happened to him, and that they don't have to explain it to you because it's obvious by the way he's smoking.
Yeah, I couldn't tell. Like, I'm not good with that, so I couldn't tell that. It's like, is that how frantic people smoke cigarettes? It seemed like he was kind of a noob on it. Plus, there's always that, like, he always had the, like, 3 inches of ash at the end of the cigarette. All right, let's get to superlative, which I think is, well, not I think. Our superlative is favorite exit of the train. Yeah,
some great ones here. Curious what you got.
I'm asking you to go first, so I'm going to go first here. My favorite is, this is tough. I'm going to go with the guy. There was Mike from Breaking Bad is up front wearing his conductor hat. I'm already having a great time. And
driving the choo-choo.
Driving the choo-choo. Going under the tunnel. And his, like, one of the two lackeys there, they're like, it's all clear up here. And they're like, check again. And it's like, check above. And he goes up, he like meanders out front, and he like slowly rolls over the hood and then picks his head up to the front. And then Seagal just boots him in the face.
Yep.
And they had that like body pillow that just like fell in front of the train and was like clearly not a person.
Right.
And then they cut to him being like trapped.
And just getting totally just ruined by the train.
Ruined. Just becoming hamburger. And that scene, like, there's so many good scenes to pick. It's hilarious how many people are thrown off this train, including Seagal himself. You can make like, I mean, a drinking game just off of that is being thrown off the train. And I got to go with that. I just thought that like scene where he went off the front, it got ran over. It was just the best.
Yeah, he's like under the train and still alive somehow, but getting
Holding
run
the
over and
front.
just destroyed.
It's like Jaws when Quentin's being eaten. Like, it's got my legs.
It was so good. I also just loved the lead up to that, where the head villain says, check everywhere, and they're like, "Yep, we checked. He's not there." And then he's like, "No, check everywhere." And they're like, "Okay, fine. I guess we actually have to go check because he said it twice." It's like they didn't do any kind. They like looked out the window the first time.
And they were all like annoyed to even move their eyes. Like, ugh.
Yeah, but that seemed like that's one of those things. Like that seems so real. Like that, I feel like that's part of the writing of this that was just really well done.
I completely agree. Yep, that made it great.
Yeah, my favorite is it's one of the good guys, unfortunately. But when they're throwing the captain from one of the ATEC guys, the first to go off, who had given the password, and they huck him off the train of this fast moving train on a bridge, and then also just shoot him with a machine gun on his way falling to his certain death. And it's just it was one of those things where it was like, yeah, I guess why not, but absolutely hilarious in my mind to just
I feel like it
throw
was
him off
just,
the train and then also shoot him.
I was dying laughing. I feel like it was just like villainous fun. Like,
Yes.
I don't get to shoot. He's going to die anyway. I don't want to get the blood on things in here. When we throw him out, I get to shoot him, right? Like, fine, you can shoot him on his way out if you want to.
Yep.
She had she didn't get shot when she went off, but
Yeah, it was followed up by her demise, where she goes into the river. We were like, at first you're like, well, is that survivable? But then you see all the rocks. There's no way.
Yeah. Which she missed, but you thought she might come. But no, she wasn't part of the character, the big character in the movie. But yeah, that I every time I watch that scene, it's so hilarious. Getting thrown from a moving train over a bridge, and you have to shoot him on the way down. Honorable mention, though, I did like when Seagal and the mercenary he was fighting both got thrown off the train at the same time. It ended up in that like amazing fall from the bungee cord.
Oh yeah,
our new favorite category, bumper sticker. You got a bumper sticker from this movie?
Yeah, and I'm a little disappointed in myself because I'm going with the obvious one. There are so many good choices here, but the obvious one is chance favors the prepared mind. And I just loved that saying. I loved it. It's a Louis Pasteur quotation, the great biologist, chemist. I think he was one of those guys that was just a genius and did everything.
Renaissance man.
Yeah. And it's just a great line. It's also used to great effect here, but it's also one of those bumper stickers that someone could put on the car and you read it and you should be like, you know what? Yeah. Like, it's one of those.
Yeah.
There were some runners up in my mind, but I think that one just takes the cake for me.
I think we can go over some runners up because they're pretty fun. This is another like I have 6 things written down and they're all third round picks essentially.
Yep.
I'm going to go with, I just love when he said in the movie, when we just talking about the scene where the guy was thrown off the bridge and shot, and then the girl was thrown off the bridge, and then they cut to Seagal, and he just goes, "God damn it." And it's like such a minor reaction to what he saw, and I love the understatedness of it, so I just feel like, I don't know, it just makes me chuckle if you just had like, "God damn it," but it's for like big things that, like you get in a huge accident.
Yep.
Like, God damn it.
Shucks.
It's frustrating. So for whatever reason, I have that as my bumper sticker.
I like it.
Any runner-ups on honorable mentions?
I like this one. This was when I don't remember his title, but in the ATAC room after the head guy who came in was talking to the junior guy who was talking about space and just sounding like an idiot. His response of, "Just be quiet, please."
That's a great one.
It's a great scene, and that's just a great bump. That'd be a great bumper sticker.
"Just be quiet, please" would be my bumper sticker if I ever would have put one on my car, which I would never do. But if I would, that would be it. That was followed up with "Speak up."
Yes.
I mean, no, before that. No.
Yeah, right. The whole scene was phenomenal.
He says it and he goes, "Quiet down."
Right. Right. And also one of those scenes that was totally relatable of this sort of guy trying to be a little bit of a smart ass, getting called out in a very genuine way, because the guy was like, well, if someone's speaking here, they probably have something important to say. And then he kind of gets put on a pedestal and then knocked off that pedestal. My other one was just, I really don't know how this would work on a bumper sticker, but sane people don't build weapons like these. And maybe you swap out weapons for cars or some other word, but that's kind of like a fun little something. I'm not exactly how you do it for a bumper sticker because weapons doesn't really make sense, but there's something you could do there.
Yeah. There's a good Wayne's movie, Don't Drink Your Juice in the Hood while whatever. And in the movie, whenever there's a message about life, whatever, they yell message. And when I was watching that and that happened, they said that, I yell message. And my wife was like, what are you doing? Stop. Why do you do that? And I was like, oh, it's a Wayne's movie from a while ago. But that's like very obvious. Like, message, we shouldn't build these weapons if it only takes insane people to build them.
Right.
I liked, as my honorable mention, I have to go beep someone and you think this is being shot. Just like a weirdo. I'm in here in California. There's like military and Marines everywhere. And there's just like tons of bumper stickers. And I can't believe like there isn't one that says like, you think this is being shot? Question mark. There's no, you see a bullet here?
It's so good.
This is a tough one. We said this was going to be tough, but one change to be a blockbuster.
So I had one that I think probably is real and one that I'm just curious about. So I would want that change. But my one real one, it's a Seagal film, and I think you could do with some more hand-to-hand combat. There's a lot of weaponry. There's a lot of other things going on, which is all fantastic. But for the essence of Seagal, I wanted a little bit more of that hand-to-hand physical action. And I think there was room for it here.
There's room for it because there wasn't room for it. It's tight quarters. Like, this is the perfect Aikido place to do things. Like, there's not much. You can't just, like, you'd think have too much gunplay in this, like, small quarters. You'd think it'd be more this, like, hand-to-hand Aikido, flip you over type stuff. But you're right. There was a lot, and that was a big problem, I think, which is a funny problem. It's like so Seagal, where people are like kind of in but not, and then they get mad at him for using guns, but they're also mad at him before that for snapping too many necks and doing like weird arm twists and stuff. But I could have used a lot more of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I always love seeing it. So personally, I would have enjoyed that. The only other minor one I had, and this was really just for me, I wanted a little bit more information on what the bad guys were selling exactly. Like, I know they were selling sort of access to wipe the East Coast off the map, but it wasn't clear to me what the people were actually getting for that, for their $1 billion. And I could use just a tidbit more of information there, but I don't think that would really tip it to be a blockbuster, but that's just something I would like. Yeah,
that would be nice to just have a little bit more of a focus as to what is at stake here.
Yeah, because I feel like I can make some things up. And one of those, I mean, there clearly was something there. They just decided not to tell us what it was because we don't need to know. But I would have liked to know what they thought, or I would have liked to not have to make it up myself.
You could know what they thought, or you could watch Seagal snap some necks.
Right, exactly.
Sock some dingers. I don't think I would choose this, but I might. It's tough because we all know that Dane was an incredible villain in this movie. Bogosian, what is it? How do you say his name?
I have no idea. Bogosian sounds right to me.
Bogosian, whatever, fine. He's amazing in this movie, but I can't help. This goes back to your thing in the beginning where it's that 70s show, The Dad. I can't help but think that we have one of the best villains of all time miscast as like a buffoon general, and not. This is the evil villain from RoboCop. He's one of the best villains of all time. He's incredible. I want to see this movie, and obviously you have to change it. He's not as smarmy as, Bogosian, and it would be a little bit more heavy and sinister. But I want to see Kurtwood Smith, General who plays General Cooper, as the main villain. I just he's so good as the bad guy. It's so weird to see him just I don't know. It's just not the right role for him to be the general, being like, I don't know what's going on. That's not him. He's the villain. He's so good at it. It's like, Gary Oldman or something like that. You see him in the wrong role. And you're like, can he just be the bad guy? He's so good at it.
Yeah, that would have been a lot of fun. I mean, and you wouldn't even needed to necessarily swap out Bogosian, right? Like, there's such a great team of villains. Yeah. He could have been anyone. You could have had both.
I needed him to be top.
Yeah, But you could still keep Bogosian could have been the computer guy, and that guy could have been the idea guy. You know, there's a whole bunch of different things.
I think you're right. It could have been like another tier. Everything's the same. We changed who the general is and just put Lockwood in as the top guy, and I think that'd be perfect.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen RoboCop for whatever reason, just is it one or two? I don't know if it's one or two, but whatever. He's amazing. And what I almost picked was there's no ponytail.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe this would have done better if then they start the first scene in the movie? The first scene, I paused it, not the first scene of the movie. The first time you see Seagal, his head is turned. The first thing you see is that his ponytail has been cut. It's not his face. You don't see his face first. You see the back of his head as the first thing this movie shows when he comes on screen with an amazing soundtrack behind it.
Oh, yeah.
Just bring the ponytail back.
Bring the ponytail back. Yeah, I agree. That probably should be our one change, right? Like that. The ponytail alone is worth what, $100 million?
Yes, yeah. This would go from $100 million to $200 million.
Yes.
I think maybe we just found the answer. Just bring the ponytail.
Yep, that we should just cut this. We'll edit this all out. We'll just say the ponytail.
Cut it. You got any spin-off ideas?
Mine is so basic. I loved the Morris Chestnut character. I thought he was so great. He was such a great foil here, but I also think that he could carry his own movie or show. So he seems to he's a quick learner. I think he probably picked up a lot from Seagal in this
very quick learner
in this harrowing experience that he went through. So I want to see him as the lead guy in another action movie. Like run this back, say he's another porter, another place, he's picked up a different job, whatever it is, and another one of these situations where he's sort of the guy that is tasked, like the last person left that could save someone from terrorists or from some horrific scene, whatever it is. Just give me more of that. I think he every time he was on screen, he was great. He was obviously there to play off of Seagal, but I think he could have really run with his own movie. So give me that movie. Let me see.
Yeah, I totally agree. And at this point, when I saw this movie, all I could ever think of was Boys in the Hood. I just kept yelling Ricky every time he was on the screen. But he was so good at it. You're right. My spin-off idea is everything gets made fun of because it's a Die Hard. It's like Die Hard. It's in Die Hard on a boat. The first one, Die Hard on a train. You know what? Let's put a big middle finger up to that and be like, you know what? The third one is going to be Die Hard in a building. It's going to be Die Hard, a new skyscraper in which Casey Ryback attends as a guest chef, an honorary guest chef, to help promote this new building in blah, blah, blah city. But it gets taken over by whatever terrorists, and now it's Seagal in a building, just like Die Hard, doing all the similar things. Like if you want to call this movie formulaic in the Under Siege is in Seagal, we're going to put it right in your face and be like, you go, oh, is this too Die Hard? This is going to be maybe better than Die Hard because we got Seagal in here. I know it's not going to be better than Die Hard, but it's we're not running from this Die Hard we're going to go Die Hard in a building.
Yeah. And make it at Christmas time. You double up right there.
That'd be great. Christmas time. Yep, I should have put that. But like make it obvious so there's no like is Under Siege 2 Under Siege 3 a Christmas movie? No.
Just go right at it. Why not? There's no reason not to. That's a great call. It also, this is not a spinoff, but I would just watch the Equalizer 3. I'm sure you've seen the Equalizer movies. And some of that made me think like, obviously there was a TV show for a long time, but I also just kind of felt like they got some inspiration from the Seagal era, where he's another one of these characters that just kind of only kicks ass. And that's the point of the film. And it's awesome to watch. And I feel like it takes a little bit of inspiration from this Seagal films where he also just kicks ass. And that's what you want to see, and you see it.
He doesn't get his ass kicked ever. He just kicks ass.
Yeah.
All right. Any notes that we haven't gone over?
Let's see. There's got to be something. I feel like I had a lot of notes here. Oh, surprising given the poor reviews. I noticed that both Siskel and Ebert liked this movie.
I think it was 3 stars if I'm wrong.
Yeah. So we don't usually get into what other critics are actually saying, but surprised given that this did so poorly in the aggregators that both of them, had their heads on straight here.
Yeah, maybe they're smart being like, this is a sequel to a Seagal movie. Seagal's been around for like 7 years, and we know what we're getting into, and this is a good one. So,
Yep.
Yeah, it's not The Pianist.
I also liked, I really like both the very beginning and the very end. I like the intro with, first you get Steven Seagal's name before anything, which is great. It's Steven Seagal and then the title and then everybody else. But the rocket launch, I can't imagine a better, more triumphant way to present somebody's name. It's just like a rocket launch behind it and then his name and then the movie. So I love the beginning and then the end. It's so abrupt. It's perfectly abrupt is what it is, because everything that you care about happened. It's done. And then they just end the movie. They don't need this like long thing or whatever emotional. No one cares. Just end it. And that's what they did. And it's great.
Perfectly abrupt. I like that. That's absolutely accurate. Let's see what I got. I liked the IMDb is like no one has names basically. Like I was watching it on Amazon. Obviously, if you pause, you can see who's in the screen, and it on the scene it shows you the real name. It also shows you the character's name. Everyone's just like mercenary number 1, mercenary number 2, except there was one dude who was Native American, and he got holy mercenary. It's so just like he's never called that, but in IMDb, because of Seagal and his thing, he's just like, this is a holy one.
Oh man, that's so good.
For whatever reason,
you're 100% right that Seagal made that choice.
Absolutely made that choice.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed when Casey Ryback was showing the entire kitchen staff how to make a cake and put it in a microwave. That part was amazing.
I wish we got the full recipe for that one as well. To go with the
it's hard to stir
ginger.
It's hard to stir cake batter on a train though, so it wasn't his best whipping that he could have done.
Right. Well, you do your best.
Was there anything cooler than stealth planes in the 90s when they're like, send the stealths?
No, still listen.
Yeah, good point. There's still nothing cooler.
I also, there was another, I think, homage to a earlier Steven Seagal film that we just did, Hard to Kill. The glass eye guy, his name was Herb. Just as we had Herbs in the Hard to Kill. Had to be a callback.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Herbs. I really liked how, remember the what's his name? Peter Green, the guy, the evil face guy from The Mask. He said how Seagal used to be his instructor in whatever, the SEALs or whatever.
Yep.
It's funny how there was no like, hey, how's it going? Before you snap my neck, it's as if they don't know each other during that entire scene. It's great.
Yeah, that's so good. It's probably, I mean, you figure it's Seagal's this mythical guy. He can't bother himself with remembering
cadets, of course not.
All the lives he's touched.
I feel like stealing the CD wasn't a good idea. They could have just snapped it. They didn't have to, stealing it and dropping it.
Yeah,
that movie could have just ended if they just broke the CD.
Yeah, I guess maybe you never know when you're going to need to try to trade it for something, perhaps.
Maybe the hostages and the train. Yeah. Good point. Yeah, you're right. I take that back. It's funny that it's so Seagal, not in a good way, that the bartender was like a famous poster girl and like playmate that barely had any screen time in this movie.
Yeah.
But she just had to be like the hottest girl on the planet at the time that they like that role. And I have a question for you here.
Let's hear it.
In this movie, there was a part where Tom, the cigarette smoker, got a call. I mean, he had to call his wife because there was a potential nuclear meltdown that was going to happen in the DC area. And he was like, take the kids and go. What is it? Take the kids and go, whatever. Don't tell anyone. Let's flip this. If you're at home with your kids and your wife is teaching and somehow finds out through the grapevine that like, hey, there's a big attack coming. It's going to hit Boston. You got like 48 hours. We're fine if we leave right now, but you got to drive at least 200 miles away. But she says, don't tell anyone. Now you live in a place where you know lots of friends and this is where you grew up. Are you going to tell anyone? Or are you leaving?
I'm probably telling people. I'm probably saying on the phone, like, I hear you, but I got to tell some people because, like, what are we gonna do when we get there? It's just us.
That's
like,
it.
We need some friends.
We need some friends. Well, you'd be like me out here moving.
Yeah, I feel like you'd have to, especially because, like, if not everyone dies, but they're, like, I don't know, horribly maimed, and they're just like, you didn't tell us?
Yeah, dude, you could have just told us.
Yeah, because it's not like I know enough people where it would cause some sort of riot or panic.
Well, but what happens is you tell them.
Right, they tell two friends. They tell two friends.
And now all of a sudden, all of Boston is like, there's a huge problem, and your wife, whatever, just was like, I told you not to tell anyone. This is why. Yeah,
maybe the move is you give yourself a head start, and then you tell people.
You text from the road.
Yeah, exactly.
You're onto 495, and you're like, you're onto the Pike, and you're like, all right, guys, you got to get out of there.
Yep.
Where are you on the Pike? I am in New York. But you got to get out of there now. You have 10 minutes.
Yeah.
All right. I wasn't sure. I figured I would tell someone too. Not here. I don't know anyone here. I moved to I don't know anyone here. I wouldn't tell anyone. But if I was back home, I would tell some people.
Yeah. I feel like I would have to.
I have one last thing. I almost drafted this, and I probably should have. Seagal is not like Van Damme or Stallone, where they can get hit. He does not like even the idea floating around, even Offset when he's just in an interview talking about his skills. He doesn't like the idea being out there that he couldn't handle whoever he's up against. Everyone is beneath him. Everyone is beneath him. So most of the times when you get to like the main character versus the heavy, the villain.
Penn?
Penn. Yeah.
Penn. Yeah.
I think he's Penn. A lot of times in the movies, there's like a battle, and like, oh, you're not sure who's going to win. Usually, Van Damme is like, we did Universal Soldier, and it looked like Van Damme was going to lose. He got hit so many times, and then he comes up with a great trick play at the end to win the game. Seagal's like, no, he might scratch me accidentally, but I'm going to make the toughest guy in this movie, who no one else can even be. The hardest of the hardest guys get destroyed by this guy if they ever look at him wrong. When I get matched up with him, he's a flea to me. I don't even see him. And especially in the kitchen. Like, he doesn't even get hit. He rolls down the stairs with him and gets scratched a little bit, and that's it. It's wild.
Yeah. It's crazy.
There's no other action hero who's like, no, man, I'm not going to be like on the ropes. I'm better than everyone here. Why would I act like that? I'm the hero. And it's so Seagal. He's never up against the wall. He's just like, I'm better than everyone here, and that's the movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of brilliant because he found his niche, right? like you said, all the other big action stars that you see them get hit, you see them almost, have to claw back. He found this niche of it's just like, I'm going to be invincible. Like, I cannot be harmed in any way, and I feel like no one had really done that, and he found a niche, and he wrote it, and it was great. It was very much its own thing, which is great.
I think of Hard to Kill when I was watching it, and he's like, "You want me to I know what you're thinking. This is too hard. Let me get down my knees. Let me put my hands behind my back. Is this even now?" Because like he's always so above who's ever he's ever matched up against, and which is the quintessential. That's what Seagal movies are.
That's right? What it is.
I'm better than everyone here. And it's not even close. I'm not going to even make this close. This isn't a close game. I'm going to destroy them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's why he's his own genre.
Yeah.
That is the exact reason. Yeah.
Boom. Circled back. What are we doing next?
Next, we have our monumental 50th episode coming out, which is obviously big news for us and all of our listeners. So we tried to get a little gimmicky here and find a movie that was exactly 50 for both critics and audiences for our 50th episode. And we didn't find anything that really fit right for us that had 50-50. But we did find a 50 critics movie that is perfect. So we are going with, for our 50th episode, Pain and Gain. Now, this is one of these movies that I've seen, and it was fantastic. And I never looked at Rotten Tomatoes. I just assume, before going on there, I assumed this was, I don't know, 80, 65 or something like that. Maybe 90, 65. Like not a movie for the critics, but I couldn't imagine that the audience wouldn't like this. So we are exceptionally fortunate to be able to talk about this movie because it is so much fun.
I feel like this is like kind of, again, how the podcast started, which was The Net. We're like, we assume we're just talking like The Net's got to be like 90, 80, right? And it's not. That's the first episode we ever did was The Net. We're just like, this is ridiculous that movies like this are looked at poorly. And then you see this and you're like, this is perfect. We're looking for 50-50. It's close, but it's also insane that it's even a possibility that we get to do this movie.
Yeah. I mean, it's got The Rock. It's got Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, close to Watertown.
And it's Michael Bay directing it. Yeah. This is a A+ movie.
That's the three, right? We Wahlberg, The Rock. Oh, yeah, Michael Bay. Exactly.
Yeah, the Michael Bay.
The Michael Bay.
Not just like another Michael Bay that happens to have the same name. No, this is the actual Michael Bay directs this movie.
Not Mikey Day from SEAL. This is Michael Bay.
So super excited to get into that. That movie's a lot of fun. So it'll be a lot of fun to dive into.
Can't wait. I'm a little sad that we finished our little Seagal twofer, but I'm less sad because I cannot wait to get to the next movie. This was awesome.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
All right, till next time.
Yeah, later.